when we wanted something that was sustainable. We're not wasting a lot of paper, and we didn't want, those funky grand wedding cards. So we stumbled across this idea of making wedding cards using paper which has seeds in it and can be planted instead of throwing it out.
So thank you guys for joining in, and we'll start off with like your introduction and
Yeah.
your background story in general.
Sure. So I am Garima Kapoor, and this is my partner, Sumat, and we are the co-founders of Plantables. This is a small eco-conscious brand based out of Agra. Our focus is on accelerating the shift towards accelerating people's shift towards sustainable products. Towards that end, we've started out with seed paper products and stationery and sustainable items that we make from our office and our workshop in Agra. And we are shipping currently to over 35 countries. And yeah, you guys can take it up from there.
So, Garima and Sumat, tell us more about your background in general. Like, what led you to this journey, and how are you doing today in Plantables?
So we started this out from our own wedding actually, because we were looking out for eco-friendly wedding cards in back in 2016. So there were not a lot of options at that time, and we wanted something that was sustainable. We're not wasting a lot of paper, and we didn't want, those funky grand wedding cards. So we stumbled across this idea of making wedding cards using paper which has seeds in it and can be planted instead of throwing it out. But there were not a lot of good options in India at that time. And so eventually so Sumat also has a firm as a packaging unit in Agra. So we experimented and played around with the idea and made our own wedding cards eventually, using a very basic seed paper with vegetable seeds in it. And we printed our own cards, and that was a great success. Like the response we got from our friends and family, and especially when, post ceremonies, they were sending out pictures of tomatoes and chilies growing out of our wedding cards. So that was something very, very heartwarming. And so that kind of got us thinking, because we were always interested in making products or making something interesting, but we were but we wanted to do something which was, of course, environmentally conscious, and it was not adding to the landfills in any way. We wanted to make products which could bring joy to people in terms of their design, content, using the latest gadgets and tools that were available to our generation, but also connect with our generation and the younger generation, and yet be sustainable, yet be eco-conscious in their ethos. So that is how we mostly started.
So initially we started off with actually looking for such options, but when we ended up not finding good appropriate options with good designs, etc., in the market, so there were actually only a couple of options, and they were actually quite bland actually. So we then tried looking into this and trying to figure out if we could make this work ourselves. And since I had some background with the manufacturing packaging, which I was into since a couple of years before that, so we tried fiddling around with the idea and ended up making something. So, and then we continued playing around with the idea after our wedding for a couple of years, and continued improving upon it. And thankfully, we were able to pull off full color printing on this paper. As far as we are aware, we were probably the first ones in India to be able to do full color printing on this paper. It happens to be quite tricky to be able to do that at scale. So we started doing that, and that helped open up the market quite a lot, because then we could print pretty much anything on this paper. And then we started diversifying into other products. And eventually, towards the end of 2018, we launched the brand called Plantables with calendars for the year 2019. And that's how the brand started.
Wow, wonderful journey in total. Like, but wanted to know, like, why Plantables? Like, why not limit yourself to organic paper or something like that? What was the idea behind putting seeds in a paper and getting it to people's homes?
Somehow, as Garima mentioned, when we were looking for ideas for our own wedding cards, somehow the idea of seed paper, plantable paper, it appealed to us quite a lot for our own cards. So we wanted our cards to be made using this paper, using this concept. And when we couldn't find appropriate options, we ended up making them. And it happens to be so that there are other people as well who happen to like the idea, and they wanted similar things as well. So which gave us the motivation to continue playing around with it and experimenting with it and making more products with it.
The tagline that we had at that time was "Let love grow." So it was a little cheesy, but it was yeah. So that kind of stuck, and of course, greening the environment, apart from just saving products from landfill, but not just saving the products, but also enabling people to grow something easy and useful as a plant or the flower or a garden vegetable out of it. So that was the whole idea was also quite planet positive in its message. So yeah, that kind of struck a chord with both of us, and eventually with others as well. So yeah,
it was quite interesting when we realized that using paper in this way, in a sense, reverses the actual life cycle of paper, traditional conventional life cycle of paper. So how that works is that we cut down trees, we make pulp out of that, then we make paper out of that, and then we make products out of that, which end up in landfills. But when we are using paper this way, making paper this way and making products out of it this way, we are actually using waste from the textile industry, which we are upcycling, cotton scrap from textile industry that is being upcycled to make pulp for this paper. We are adding seeds to it. We are making products from it then, which eventually, of course, we want them to be thrown away. We want them to be planted in soil, and we're making them in such a way with aqueous water-soluble inks so that even the inks do not harm the soil or the water. And eventually, at least some of them end up as plants. So we, in a sense, it's reversing the traditional life cycle of paper.
Right. So the paper that is used at Plantables, it's not from like the traditional source like
No,
trees
not
are.
at
Okay.
all.
tree
No.
free. It's wood-free
It's
paper.
handmade. It's wood free. It is made using upcycled cotton scrap from the textile industry.
Okay. And you made them at your own setup, or is it like outsourced from
We are
somewhere?
working with partner
Okay.
units. So we arrange the raw materials, the
The
seeds. We are
seeds.
trying to work with non-GMO seeds as much as possible. And so we
Right.
customize the paper while working with these units. And then almost the entire process is in-house, from product design and development to
Concept.
printing to crafting to packaging.
To
So the
marketing,
entire
everything.
Yeah, like managing that end-to-end cycle becomes so important in sustainability, right? Like you need to have control from the start till the end. So can you like explain the whole Plantables journey, like how the paper and the calendar comes on my table, starting from procuring everything at your end, and what are the things that you look into while procurement, manufacturing, and operations in general?
We of course try and use only those materials which are either completely biodegradable and or organic or recycled or upcycled, and we avoid using plastics
In any form.
in any form whatsoever,
Or chemical-based dyes
or toxic
any
dyes, or
toxic dyes,
uh,
anything like that.
even chemical solvent or eco solvent and dyes. So we are trying to use aqueous dyes as much as possible, and organic dyes wherever possible.
Even the processes that we use don't involve heat in any form, pressure in any form, which conventional printing does, so that the germination quality of the seeds and the life of the seeds remains strong enough till the end user.
But you were asking about the life cycles.
Yes.
So this was an initial brief about things we try to take care of while we are researching or finding appropriate sources for the raw materials. But particularly when we are working with seed paper. So as I mentioned before, the primary raw material is scrap from the textile industry. So that is the primary raw material which is converted into pulp after being filtered, There are at times other mixed materials which have to be sorted and filtered out of that to make it clean. Then it has to be shredded, converted into pulp. Then we also source seeds, and we're trying to source seeds locally as much as possible and non-GMO seeds as much as possible. And then these are added to make the paper. The paper is completely handmade. It is dried in the sun. So it takes the process takes a lot of time and effort, and we are also dependent upon the forces of nature to a large extent. So monsoons are quite tricky
making
to
the paper.
work and during. So this is how the paper is made. And then you mentioned calendars. So in the case of calendars, so we design and develop the structures and the graphics in-house. We have a team,
Of
good,
designers.
wonderful team of designers and product and developers who we are working with now. Initially, of course, it was we and our friends and cousins with whom we developed the initial set of designs and products. Over time, we've thankfully grown into a good team. These designs are then printed at a workshop in-house. They're cut and crafted at our workshop in-house. We were working with carpenters again in-house to make the wooden stands of the calendars. We also make our own packaging. So that is what we use for packaging these products, and then they're shipped out from here.
Awesome. Like, I think most of the times for this type of products, stationery, uh, people have doubt around that the ink like ink will kind of spoil the entire game, because ultimately that is not chemical free. So can you just uh, you know, aware the audience about like what are like water soluble dyes, just to get an idea of how is it like different from the conventional dyes that we use.
Sure. So most of the dyes that are being used in the printing industry, they are chemical solvent or mostly oil solvent dyes that are being used. But now, thankfully, over time, there has been emergence of, initially there was this emergence of eco-solvent dyes, which are slightly better than those toxic chemical based dyes. But since a few years now, thankfully, we have some options of working with aqueous dyes as well. So there are some opportunities in terms of equipment and that work well with such dyes. And there are some people who are thankfully finally moving in the direction of making such dyes and making them cost effective. So it presents a good opportunity wherein we can use such dyes and still not break the bank or have a huge cost burden being transferred onto the customers.
Right. And in terms of quality or let's say durability, does this still perform the same or?
Yes.
Okay.
It performs quite well, but of course, in case of particularly plantable products, the idea is that these are mostly single-use products, or they don't have to be used for a very long time. The idea is that they have to be planted in soil after some uses, or at times after just one use. So particularly in such cases, we need not have the dyes
Very fast.
we don't need fast dyes in such cases.
We want them to get dissolved. We want them to wash out.
Yeah.
So that is the idea. So yes, so they do, when you soak the paper, when you soak a printed paper in water, the ink
it will easily wash off.
The ink will like get dissolved.
Even if you accidentally happen to have a drop on the surface, it will get smudged because it is
that we want it to be.
And we want it to be
that's an intentional element of the print. So that is something that we want to happen.
Yeah. What we want other people to know also, because most of the time sustainable products are under scrutiny in terms of quality and durability. So it's very important that people know that it is intentional and why it is being done in a particular way.
There are certain cases, I'm sorry. So there are certain cases, for instance, let's say when we are making calendar stands and we are customizing them with prints. So we want these stands to be reused. We don't want them to be discarded very soon. So we in fact offer this option wherein even after a year, you can use the same stand and just refill them with a new sheet for the next year. So in such cases, we do try and use fast dyes because we want these products to have a longer life cycle.
Makes sense. Makes sense. No, I think it's important that brands are like more vocal about, not achieving absolute zero. That is not the goal. Sort of like if we can do 90-80% better,
And
it's still a lot more
definitely
important.
not perfect. We're trying to improve. That's it. We're trying to get
Yeah,
better.
awesome. And for the packaging also, you use the same material, or do you like you have a different
Packaging is a
materials for
mix.
that?
At times, we use plantable paper as well for making packaging. And thankfully, there have been some wonderful brands with whom we've had an opportunity to work with for making their packaging plantable. For instance, you might be aware of this shoe brand called Theli. So we make plantable boxes for them. There are a few other brands with whom we've had this opportunity of making plantable packaging for them.
We make bags for Mercedes for all of their events, pan India. So all of their launches and stuff. So they have the seat paper bags and notebooks and stuff that they hand out over there.
But when we are not using plantable paper for making packaging, we try and use uncoated and recycled paper as much as possible.
And in order to ship out our products to the consumer, we are mostly using a mix of we are using recycled corrugated packaging, which is also made from waste papers. It's recycled brown craft corrugated cartons and boxes that we use to put our products in. And we also use all the waste paper that is left out from misprints or anything like that. So all of that is shredded to be used as fillers and instead of bubble wraps and stuff. So we use our own waste paper as fillers for most of our products.
Yeah, I think that definitely makes sense because, um, you know, the paper industry in general has a lot of waste, and to figure out like where to put that waste, and also to figure out like if the waste is waste, how can we like reuse it somewhere. So that's been a major challenge. But like, what was the journey to like, what are the challenges that you faced to make this product and idea mature to the level that it is today? Like, can you list some of your challenges, and if there are stories around it? I think we would all love to hear it.
Of course, the initial challenge was the print quality. I mean, the simplest and ugliest looking wedding cards have been ours, and since then we've only gone upwards from there. Like it was the most basic design. It was like okay, so and so yes, printing was a challenge initially, and
It still is.
it still is. It's a constant challenge. So figuring out and ensuring that the quality is standard, because and also the quality in terms of the print that's coming out, the alignment that's like a very basic thing, but front back alignment on this paper, which is very thick, can be very tricky. As opposed to bulk printing on offset machines, it can be very, very difficult, and so that is a constant
And
struggle.
getting consistent results on this paper is very tricky.
Bulk products for bulk even corporate customers. So we're shipping to 35 plus countries. We're doing a lot of stuff for corporates in India and outside, and they are very, very particular about the quality, about consistency, about brand colors, about brand imaging on all of their products, even if it is sustainable. So they're like, we are on board with the sustainability aspect, but you have to stick to brand guidelines. So that is a challenge that often comes up, but thankfully we've been able to work with that and improve our quality checks, improve our processes, improve our printing setups to match those standards and those demands.
So even though I happened to have some experience with the print and packaging industry before getting into this, none of the print equipment that we conventionally use in the print and packaging industry has been useful in this case. So we've had to work around a lot of things to be able to make printing work with this paper, and good consistent quality printing work with this paper, because see, conventionally mostly offset printing is used, for instance, in packaging industry. But offset printing applies a lot of heat and pressure on the paper that damages the seeds. Unfortunately, now, of course, over time, there are competitors who are trying to compete in terms of price, and they are doing offset printing on this paper, but it makes no sense at all.
because of
They're
the dead
offering seed
seeds.
paper with dead seeds.
So that is something that we're very, very conscious about. Also ethically, not just making the products, but also the environment, like internally where we are working. Our team, we make sure that that the space that they're working in is comfortable. So we work out of Agra, like we told you, our workshop, our office, everything is in Agra. We ship out of Agra, which is a tier 3 city, to be honest. And challenges can include, of course, talent hiring. So we do have our own design team, but being in Agra, that can also be a challenge, bringing them up to par with global standards and the design aesthetics that we would like to match, that we would like to develop, can become challenging with the talent force that we have here. Also, we have a community of of ladies who work with us. So for all our quality checks, all our crafting, all the handcrafted products, all the rakhis that we make, all handmade stuff, everything is made by a group of very active, very creative ladies who belong to the community around our office, and they're mostly from economically challenged backgrounds, but they're very passionate about the work that they do, and they're willing to learn. Most of them have learned and been trained in-house, and they've learned on the job. And so ensuring that quality is maintained, even irrespective of who is doing the final checks. So like giving that kind of ownership to the ladies, to the team who's doing the the final checks, so that it's not exactly a challenge, but it's something that we are quite particular about, and we try to ensure standard quality. So that is also something that is a part of our internal processes that we offer training in and we work around. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So you guys are using disadvantage to advantage being in the city. But like uh, the women empowerment aspect, is that part of Plantable's philosophy, or is that something that you figured out as a model?
No, it is absolutely a part of our philosophy. And the idea is, the vision is to
Eventually.
accelerate the shift to sustainable products while empowering people around us, while creating a positive social impact. That is the vision. So the parent firm of the Plantables is Sustaination Ventures, short for Sustainable Innovation. So this is a first small step that we've made in that direction. And hopefully our attempt is to continue increasing that positive impact, both for the environment and for society.
Currently, our workforce, our internal team is 50%, like the gender ratio is 50-50. So, and we're quite proud of that. So including the design team, including the quality check in all of it. So our current gender ratio is 50-50. Right?
There is a lot of social research that goes on to show that the best and easiest way to empower and uplift any society is to uplift its women.
I think like as a nation also India has so much potential because there are so many wonderful initiatives going on around the country, around like local communities and artisans. So I think yeah, even if Plantables were to expand to other cities or states, I'm pretty sure will benefit the social community over there. That is amazing. And I was just curious about this part. Like you started in 2016, but we all had like 2 years in between for COVID, which was like very hard for all of us. I just wanted to understand how did you like manage during that tenure and how did you came out of it? Or
2018, we started the brand in 2018, and then 2
okay,
years.
okay. 16, you
We got
okay were
married.
working on them.
Start
Yes.
the brand.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, COVID, that was, of course, it was a very, very difficult period all around, no doubt. 3 months in 2020, we were like everything was like completely shut down. There were zero sales, not even negative, was zero sales at that time because ours is a manufacturing unit. We didn't have any aspect here which was where we could do work from home, or we could, because we had to make a physical product and ship out a physical product, and everything related apart from non-essentials was in lockdown, right? So over time, of course, that was a challenging period, but our intention was to make sure that we don't have to let go of anybody. We held on strongly. We held on tightly to all of our team members. We were a very small unit at that time, but we held on to every single one of them. And as founders, as partners, we were of course not drawing anything during almost 6 months, 6 to 8 months,
almost a year.
which was the 2020-2021 period. We had a few savings through in as a brand, so we were able to like just tide over the zero sales period, and we also got our team on board, and they were also quite understanding of the fact key in case anybody has a personal emergency or a personal requirement, we will always be there with them. And apart from that, everybody took a small percentage of pay cut so that we could at least, with the savings that we had in hand, we could tide over that particular period. And once things opened up gradually, consciously, we started getting them back to office one at a time, like only the essentials, like a few people will come, then a few people will come, who the person who was living farthest off would be asked to join in the latest. And then gradually things started opening up, and we were very conscious of our masking, our hand sanitizing, our sanitary practices inside office. We were very, very particular about all of those practices. We were quite strict about masking since February 2020, if I remember. Like we had made masks compulsory in office in February 2020. So it did not come as a surprise when things started closing down in March. So and even in 2021, it was 2021, of course, by then we had also included a couple of digital products in our services through e-cards and, all of those through wedding cards and e-cards and products like that. And so that helped us get some sales during the lockdown periods at that time. But apart from that, we kind of just put our heads down and just kept going. We took it one day at a time, and just, whenever there were periods of things opening up, we were able to get some orders through, and we also started targeting newer geographies during that period. We also started targeting, we also increased some of our product offerings to target D2C, direct to consumer products. Initially, we didn't have a lot of D2C products. So during that time, we added more stationery.
And we had products for weddings, but besides that, we didn't have a lot of other D2C products. We were mostly doing products for events, which included weddings and conferences or corporate events. So of course, during this period, all the events were closed, so shut down. So that was a big impact, definitely. So which is why we expanded our range. We created more products which we could sell directly to consumers as well. So that also helped to some extent, and then continue to grow.
And we're also very frugal with our general practices. So even just basic business decisions and everything. So it's we are a bootstrapped company. It's a small homegrown brand. So we're very, very frugal with our practices, and that has helped us sustain a lot during those periods as well. And we've had a lot of support from our parents as well. So this is our office and everything is in-house, and
it's literally in-house.
It's in the house. Yeah. So so we've had a lot of support, and it has kind of become a family business now. In the reverse way, in a way, like we started it, but now our parents are also a part of it. And Sumat's mother, she has had a work experience of almost 34 years plus as an SBI with the State Bank of India, and her interaction with customers and all of her work experience.
She took VRS and joined us.
Yeah, so she's working with with us at Plantables, and so everybody kind of came together. And Sumat's father, he has had a lot of experience with manufacturing and export, and all of that experience also he brings to the fore with the packaging unit and with a lot of our activities. So we are drawing in on all the experience that's there, and a lot of moral support. So we're not doing it alone, of course.
But there is thankfully a lot of support.
Definitely, yes. Like yeah, when people around, the people we love are happy and the people coming to join us, I think that's a big win. And this has been like one of the common lines I think Shreyas and I have started to, understand in terms of the founders and sustainability is, many of the bootstrap businesses that have started with the philosophy have survived through COVID. You know, they have been like, and when they came out of COVID, I think they have accelerated more, and with more people involved from their circle in the business, I think the more philosophy and more control that they have over the production line as well, like impacting the core philosophy in the model. So I think that's a like a pretty cool ingredient to build a sustainable bootstrapped company in general. But can you like walk us through your day-to-day work, and probably what does Garima do, what does Sumat do, and how much is the team size, and what does everyone involved in every day?
So, our team size is like, apart from the four of us, we um including part-time, full-time, or all folks, it's about we're almost 30 people strong. With a mix of part-time, full-time folks, and this is like mostly just in-house. Like this is the team that we have on roll with us, part-time, full-time, all of that included. And then apart from that, of course, individual responsibilities a lot of times overlap a lot, because since it's still a small team, a lot of things, it's like everybody is doing everything all at once, so everybody is like doing things together. So we've not been able to. One of our challenges currently is, of course, setting up systems and processes, which is something that we want to ensure, like we want to work on now. And so yeah, apart from that, of course, Sumat is so the website that you see, Plantables, that has all been made in-house. So it is all, that's all Sumat has made it from scratch. So that's I did the content for that. We have a photographer locally who does the photos with us, and so I take care of the social media pages mostly, and of course customer relations, client, some of the client facing ends. Sumat takes care of all the tech part, the sourcing, the ideation, the concepts, any kind of new innovation, the innovation part. So he's the innovation head. He's like takes care of all of that. Any in terms of process, in terms of product, any step, and so all of that. And apart from that, of course, we have a person who handles the sales, the major part of the sales. So we have Anjana ma'am, who takes care of the customer relations and sales part, and then we have a lady who we have Sonia, who takes care of accounts and office operations, and then we have Gurdeep, who's our office manager. He takes care of all the production, the day-to-day operations in-house. We have three people: Ovais, Jitendra, Anil, and also Mohit part-time, who take care of printing setup. Then we have a group of 8 to 9 ladies who are with, like I told you, they take care of the handcrafting, the quality check, the packing, all of those sources. We have some part-time folks who take care. So we have 3 designers. One of them works mainly with product development. 2 are full-time designers. One is a freelance designer who works with us regularly. Then we have a team, a group of folks with the crafting, which is the crafting team. So that's the production, inventory management,
Packing,
sourcing, packing, shipping, all of those activities, because all of our manufacturing is in-house. So all of that.
Akash helps us with a lot of work in the city, taking care of a lot of things that need to be taken care of in the city, in and around the city.
Yeah, and our parents, of course, are there, so they are like full-time. They help us manage the team. It's a very young team, so so they help us manage the team and also help us organize the day-to-day operations, production part. So most of the client sourcing and client communications are handled by Sumat, me, and Anjana. And the rest of the team is involved in various stages of production, designing, conceptualization, and operations in various stages.
We have a few more team members who are mostly part-time. Some of these are also students who are also working with us part-time. We have a wonderful institute called the Albert Educational Institute close by. So these are students from this institute.
We are also both
We
alumni
are also
of
both
that
alumni,
of that
yeah.
institute.
Oh, awesome.
It's a
That's
university, so we are kind of in like close to the university, so that's part of the community as well.
nice. I think more students need to work with such brands. We were not lucky enough during our times that it was always like proper job chasing and all that thing. But it's amazing that there are students also working with the team. Also. So initially when you started, um, like how were the products received? Like, were there any what was the feedback from early customers, and like how did you grow the sales from there to the level that 35 countries that you are reaching right now?
So having all the production in-house has helped us offer completely customized products with zero MOQ, zero as in no MOQs. I mean, there's
One unit. at
one
least.
unit. People can take even one unit if they want to. Even in case of wedding cards, for instance, even if a person wants one customized wedding card, we will offer it. We make one
Oh,
customized wedding card as well, if required.
that's new.
So this kind of customizability uh, helps us work with customers in having a lot of discussions with them, having their inputs in terms of what is it that they're looking for. And we love to ideate with our customers and make products for them based on
Their
what is
vision.
it that they would like to bring to reality based on their vision. So
That can
that
be,
helps us quite a lot in bringing working on new ideas, making new things.
and also in customer satisfaction. So
Yes.
this includes both corporates and direct consumers. Like it can be a wedding card, it can be a brand. So we worked very closely with the PR head at Adani Airports for their calendars last year, and so there were a lot of very specific inputs that they had. And similarly, we work very closely with a banking institution in Bahrain, where they had very, very specific inputs with regards to their planners and their calendars. And so the customer reception, even initially, has thankfully, touchwood, been very positive. Not just in terms of the sustainable aspects of the product, but also in terms of the quality. So what they're mostly amazed at, so somebody who has worked with sustainable products is always amazed at the quality of print, at the flexibility of our offerings, in terms of design, in terms of elements that need to be added, or in terms of customization to the product, even not just printing, in terms of crafting, in terms of production, in terms of MOQs again. And somebody who is unaware, who hasn't worked with sustainable products initially, is often amazed at the quality of sustainable products, and the sustainable aspect of something which looks very regular, which is at par in terms of pricing and looks with regular stationery items anywhere around the world. And yes, and of course various platforms, our day and age, various e-commerce platforms, various marketplaces have helped us reach customers around the world. And courier partners, like of course, that how can we miss out on our shipping partners? We worked with all sorts of shipping partners, like you name them, we worked with them. We worked with UPS, Aramex, DHL, FedEx, DTDC, Blue Dart, Express, any and every shipping courier partner, international and domestic, we worked with them. And just the opening up of these services has made it possible for us to ship to these 35 countries. Otherwise, it would not have been possible for me to send stuff out to, a very, very random country, maybe. But it is possible now because there are services available. There are pocket-friendly shipping options available. So that becomes very, very important for a customer who's buying from India. If the shipping is not making sense, they will not. But that has opened up the market a lot recently. And of course, repeat customers are often they will only come given the quality, based on the quality the service and personal interactions that we've had with them. So that has always thankfully been very, very
One
positive.
thing we've had in mind from the very beginning is, so unfortunately, a lot of eco-friendly or sustainable products are quite bland. They don't usually work on the aesthetics or the design aspect of the products as much. We have always made it a point that besides being sustainable, our products should be fun, quirky, have a good design and aesthetic sense. That has helped quite a lot. And a lot of times people approach us because of our designs, and later they come to know, okay, this is also plantable. And they're surprised by that fact.
That's just a fun additional service that is there on the products. They don't often realize when they see, especially wedding cards, they don't realize that you can plant these cards. They just come to us for the designs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, this is right on the nail that we wanted to crack down, because um, when we compare stationery or when we compare industries like that, traditionally with traditional competitors like people out there, in terms of feel, you have to be competitive, because this is where the people would go for the feel. Exactly, that's the USP. You can't be like, I'm sustainable and this is my USP. You're going to buy and just read with experience or read with aesthetics, and that exactly needs to change. It has to be cool. Sustainability has to come back cool and attract more people. And so that brings me to my next question. Like, how do you see plantables growing and maturing in this journey for, let's say, down the line for next 10 years or somewhere? Like, are you going to expand into multiple fortes, like, multiple categories where the philosophy remains the same, that after discarding, that grows into something? Is there something baking up in your minds, or what's going on there?
There's a lot that's been waking up in our minds. So there is a lot. There are a lot of ideas. There are a lot of things, and there are a lot of itches that we want to scratch. But uh, uh, and I feel that probably we're in a position now where we can start exploring at least some of those ideas. So this has been a decent start, thankfully. But there are so many other opportunities, so many other possibilities. There are a lot of other experiments we have been doing with different kinds of materials, with different kind of products, and we would like to diversify into other materials and other products. Of course, all of it will
has to be
continue to be
planet
sustainable. It has, and our attempt will continue to be to create a positive social impact through whatever work we continue to do. That will always be there. But yes, we would like to diversify our product range and the materials that we work with.
Can you tell us in general how this industry is shaping? Like, is it because we see, like, especially people like us who are involved or inclined towards sustainability do see more brands, but how is it at a larger landscape? Is the paper industry like still as it is as it was like 10, 15 years ago, or do you see it changing across?
I'm not sure if we are sort of those frogs in a well, because we do feel that there's a huge shift happening. It might be because we happen to always look around for such people or such brands who are working on similar lines. But there is definitely a huge shift happening, and it is about time. I mean, we're actually quite late already. I mean, it is we need to make it happen now. And I mean, it doesn't really make any sense at all if somebody is starting a new physical product based venture. It doesn't really makes any sense anymore to make non-sustainable products. Why do you want to do that?
True, true. I think, yeah, with more such initiatives, because we also our journey also sort of started with uh, one of the companies in Rajasthan, Gaukriti.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we met the founder Bimraj Sharma. Like, those was one of the first change makers we connected, and yeah, so that was also very inspiring the way they were working on the paper industry.
Just wanted to quickly understand if there is anything like greenwashing happening in this industry, because as I see around, like, there are multiple companies claiming them to be like organic paper, like what we see in plastic, right? There is bad plastic, then there is bioplastic, and then there is compostable plastics, right? And if people look at closely, like compostable plastics are something which can be composed only at certain temperatures and pressures. Okay, so just wanted to understand, are there any terminologies or anything greenwashing that is happening in this industry?
It is definitely happening. There's no doubt that it is happening. But I think there's no, actually, in a sense, it is good that at least people are talking about these things. And eventually, even if they're greenwashing right now, eventually, when the economics of those materials align with the markets, they will make the shift. So at least there is this um, tendency to, even for larger brands, to start talking on these lines, and eventually they will make the shift. So it's okay. It's okay. Things take time. At least, even when people are talking about it, they're at least building awareness. They're helping people know more about such alternatives and what is it that is required to make such shifts. Over time, of course, hopefully some regulations will also come into place, which will try and ensure that what people are saying is actually what it is. And all of those measures will probably need to be taken over time. But it's good that even if and they're only talking about it and not really doing it, and that's all right, I think.
Even greenwashing, even though it can be negative at times, but it does raise awareness.
Yeah.
Both internally, like if a brand like Coca-Cola is talking about taking some initiatives, even if they say you've made so many plastic bottles and now you're you're changing face and all of that. At least they're acknowledging it. At least they're talking about it. At least their internal teams are aware that they are accountable. They have to make the shift. They have to research. And if such brands, even if through small steps they are initiating research towards these ends, that can be a massive shift for all the other organizations, all the other folks who are
Stakeholders,
all the stakeholders for the planet overall. If some of these top brands start talking about it, focus internal research funds towards these ends. A bigger challenge can, of course, be with folks who are not ready to acknowledge that this is a problem. Those are the people we need to be afraid of or just be worried about. But people who are acknowledging it, at least they're taking the first step in whatever way they're doing
it is definitely not easy to shift such massive scales of supply chains in a day or in a week or in a month or even in a year. It will take some time, but at least that intention is there now.
The ownership, or even even if it's small, the sense of ownership and the urgency towards it is building up.
I am really glad to see such an positive outlook at like greenwashing, because there is always something positive we can learn from that as well. So amazing, amazing. I just wanted to understand, like, you have like wide range of products right now on the website. Uh, what are like some of the most loved products, or what do consumers like buy the most, if there is any such preference?
I think our calendars are quite popular. Every
Okay.
So our calendars are always quite popular. And Rakhis. So these are all seasonal products. So Rakhi, we get a great response for our Rakhis as well. So during the Rakhi season, and of course, our wedding cards are like in terms of customer sentiment and in terms of customer, um, uh, just experience. Our wedding cards have been, we've had some of the most positive responses and uh, reactions to our wedding cards, both from the person who's actually purchasing it to their guests um, uh, who are receiving it and then coming around to order their own cards and stuff like that. So customer delight has definitely been quite high with the D2C products like calendars and wedding cards.
And yeah, I just would like to share a personal experience here. Like, I ordered one of the calendars for one of my friends. And what I've noticed is whenever someone comes to her or sees the calendar on her desk, like they usually ask, like, this is beautiful. What's in there? Like, probably they do not know the philosophy behind it, but at least the design catches that eye, and then the story starts about it. So I definitely think that it is a, story starter, calendars. So definitely, yes, I think, I've personally experienced it, so I can share it and vouch for it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
There's
Yeah,
something that we're working on that we'll be launching soon, hopefully, which
yeah.
is an absolutely gorgeous product. And we hope eventually that will become a customer favorite, but it's not out yet. So, but we'll be launching it.
Wow.
We're also
Wonderful.
working with some wonderful
Artists.
artists, design partners, and it's been an absolute pleasure working with them. And this product that
It's a
Garima mentioned
collaborative
is a
product.
collaboration with such team.
So as a
Yeah.
manufacturing unit, and with all these steps and all the processes in-house, that gives us a lot of it gives us an opportunity to work with various folks across channels, which includes designers and artists as well. And there are some there like just to push the envelope on the kind of designs that work well with this paper. So we've had the opportunity of working with various beautiful brands and a lot of great artists as well, who have approached us for customer for as a manufacturing unit. Basically, they approached us as a manufacturing unit, but then again, the quality of the products and the way their designs feel on these papers has been very, very positive, and that has also helped us explore our offerings, expand our portfolios as well, while offering these kind of services to various folks. So that has been a great learning curve as well.
I think we will look forward to this new product. And yeah, as a designer, I think uh, if more designers can work on such brands, it's better use of the talent rather than investing in other places. So amazing, amazing. I wanted to just like, I think we are like overboard the time, but just one last aspect from my side. Is there like any most of us are like very, so whenever I talk with my friends, like they are always about, okay, does this company have the data for this? Does this company have the numbers for that? So I just wanted to understand, do you measure sort of like as an impact that Plantables is creating, like as in preventing impact on the environment? And if so, like what that would be as of now?
We have approximations. We don't have exact figures, and which is why we don't share them. We would like to have more accurate figures before we are in a position to share them. We are working towards that. We are working on, uh, uh, processing and analyzing our data better to be able to have transparent figures that then we can share.
This is more believable than some random number of
Yeah.
CO2 offset.
It's easy to give a number, but it,
Yes.
No, definitely yes. Like, sustainability in general is a lot more intangible aspect than a tangible aspect. People try to directly, link up with carbon emissions and CO2 capturing and all of those things. But in true sense, it's not traceable. So how can you tell this that numbers are concrete? But like, I just want to close it with two questions. First
just one point over
question.
here. I think
Yeah,
I'm sorry, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I think it is important to measure the impact. I think
No,
when
yeah,
I think we're a bit late in working towards this. We should have started working on analyzing this data even earlier. So I wouldn't say that we are. It should be this way. It needs to be measured and traced and tracked
yeah.
because it for one thing is that it helps bring more transparency, and it helps bring more clarity and awareness as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, just one point.
Yeah, definitely right. Like, if there is a no North Star metric, the direction is something that is not there. But the point is like, rather than attaching it that with a random number, like, which doesn't have a concrete tangible idea to the people and not traceable, is something that's been happening a lot. And it's better to take time and figure out, because we as well ourselves are like in the center of those things, that whatever we build a platform for, whatever we do, how are we going to measure something if there is anything happening here? So that is definitely one true aspect that even the founders that we talk with speak about, that we haven't figured out yet, but that's what we want to get in. We don't want to chase some numbers that's just out there in the trend. So yeah. So like the question here is, do you guys practice sustainability in your personal lives, and would you share some of your experiences with the audience, and how do you do it in daily lives as well?
So again, we're trying to work in that direction. So actually, we before so right now we have our workshop and office space on the second floor in our home building, and we have an 8 kilowatt solar power plant above that. So this was before we set up this office and workshop space. So we set that up before we set up our office and workshop space. And in the place where we have our office and workshop now, that was a rooftop farm before that. So we've somehow had this interest and inclination towards these aspects even before we started building a business around it. But again, I would again say that at the same time, I wouldn't say that we are a zero waste family or a couple. And there is waste that we continue to generate, and we are again trying to reduce that. We are trying to bring in more practices in our lifestyle that are that align with our work. So some simple things are using a copper bottle for daily use, carrying the bags all around,
and making the switch to alternatives which are more eco-friendly in all kinds of consumptions that we're using, be it clothing purchases or so I've recently shifted to a lot of thrift shopping through this brand called Relove, if you're aware of it. So yeah, so now they're specifically targeting me for my size, but that's okay. But yeah, so shifting to thrift shopping, and of course sourcing locally grown products as much as possible, shifting to just basic grains and stuff that are as easily available locally, and fruits and stuff that are seasonal, which are locally available. So being aware of our basic carbon footprint in terms of our purchasing is also something that we're doing. And of course, we're always open to shifting to brands who have better ethical practices, who have better offerings in terms of their products, like be it detergents or be it any regular consumables, avoiding plastic water bottles all around, cold drinks and stuff like that. So yeah, we tried composting. We were not very successful with it, but we'll be giving it another shot soon.
Like buying less
Yes.
is the most sustainable thing possible, probably. So yeah, and I somehow again this has been a part of my life that I tend to buy few things. I buy a lot of digital stuff, but not a lot of physical stuff.
Awesome, awesome. No, we always ask this because these are the most tangible things probably people can pick up. Not everyone can and needs to start a company, but our everyday impacts also have a huge impact on the planet. And yeah, we were very happy to learn about Relove because we last week only we interviewed Kirti. So
Oh,
it was amazing to know about their initiative and the way they are handling it. So I think fashion, I am of the opinion buy less very lazy about it. But yeah, we can understand that there are certain market and there are certain wares, especially for women on occasions they need it. And Relove is doing like amazing job in kind of at least making that pipeline very sustainable.
Yep.
And we also had a like bit of ups and down with composting last year. So we were able to like create successful compost out of it. We used it in our plants also, but it's sort of like it requires attention and a lot of
Dedicate. Yeah.
care. Yeah. If it is done at a society level, I think we felt that that will be more convenient or like uh, powerful, But amazing. Thanks for sharing this activities that you do.
And yeah, this brings me to the last question. Like, what is your message or advice to the people who are watching it? Because we have a range of people who wants to like inculcate sustainability in their daily lives, like the individuals for themselves, and also people who are aspiring, like the college students who are just starting out exploring to sustainability, and probably one day they want to build a business. So, what's your words of wisdom or message for them?
Again, thankfully, a lot of interesting work is happening in the area now, and there's never been a better time to get involved in some kind of work that enables sustainability. Uh, we are actually doing pretty simple work. There are more interesting, more complex opportunities out there. I think it's very important to work on sustainable materials. We have been exploring some such materials, some wonderful, interesting, organic, natural, sustainable materials are coming up as alternatives for regular conventional materials. There is a lot of in-depth research and R&D required in those areas. So particularly students right now, they will probably have the time and the bandwidth to work on such projects, and it'll be wonderful if they engage in such projects. So we love trying our hands on such materials and making new interesting products with them. We are always on the lookout for interesting materials to experiment with them. So that is one thing. Besides, in terms of people who are trying to do some new work, like I mentioned before, I mean, there's no need to even think about making non-sustainable products anymore. Why do that? And
And there's always an alternative to whatever conventional processes and businesses that are happening. So there's always an eco-conscious, planet positive alternative to all such activities. And if there is somebody who's just starting out, just the intention and the whatever their skill set is, whatever their area of work is, aligning their personal development and their work ethos to something that is planet positive, that is eco-conscious, that is sustainable, will always definitely be a very conscious first step. Joining in, interning with, having an internship with brands who are working along these lines. If a person is studying architecture, working with materials and sustainable architectural options as opposed to a conventional workplace. If somebody is in footwear, again exploring materials which are sustainable, materials which are vegan, which are eco-conscious. So everything has an alternative right now, because if we are not looking for alternatives, we are just being very, very like blindsided about all of it, especially the situation that the world is currently in. So yes, so that is something that everybody should be doing by default. Anybody who's starting out in any venture, any field that they're starting out, and they have to look for alternatives and align their work in a planet positive way.
And I'd say even if people do not agree with the fact that climate change is happening, of course there's still a debate around it, and there are people who still do not. There are people who, for some reason or the other, do not agree with this ethos. For them, I would say that there's a strong business case as well right now over here. So even if you do not really care for the planet, you can do it for the money, but please do it.
True.
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 Ultimately, it has to be, and not it has to be. It was and always more profitable, like sustainable way of doing things. It's just like our standards of profit changed a lot in last 50, 60 years. So it's like all of us have been chasing something which was not that important. But yeah, now it has come to a point where it has a serious economic impact because we can't continue using the resources as we were for last century. Yes.
But yeah, thank you again for taking this time out. This was, and being so candid about it, like
This is exactly
so,
what we want to bring to
yeah.
people because when we started off initially, some of our friends we have been together for 10, 15 years, and even then it's like they are like, no, these companies don't exactly do, or it is not, they also like having unsustainable materials and it's not clear. So we wanted to bring this out that it has to be very unfiltered, like people need to know these initiatives and the people behind them in a most honest way. So thanks for sharing your views and keeping the information in that sense only.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us. Having these conversations also helps us
It
have
makes
more clarity, learn more about.
make us more accountable to the work that we're doing on a daily basis. So
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.